a little bit, not by
Yeah.
much. But yeah, my father-in-law in Maine would come down here and he'd be wearing long johns, flannel shirt, and jacket, and I pick him up at the airport in shorts and jacket. He's like, "Isn't it cold here?" I'm like, "No, it's like 72."
Yeah, it's like, and yeah, you'll get like usually nice days, some cold days in there.
Yeah,
Just
my
like,
birthday is in January, and I've had 85-degree days on my birthday.
yeah, that's
So
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. And also on the other hand, your birthday can be in May.
Everyone, I'd like to call to order the regular Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Karstback.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Hardy.
Yes.
Trustee Wing.
Here.
Trustee Ayers.
Here.
Trustee Kurtz.
Present.
And Trustee Albrecht is absent.
Thank you, Clerk. Next on our agenda is citizen participation. This is a chance for the audience to speak to anything that is not on tonight's agenda. Do we have anyone signed up? Okay, thank you. We have no sign-ups. So we can move on now to our regular agenda tonight. And we'll start off with the consent. Would trustees like anything removed from consent? I'd like to move item E. Is there anything else? All right, is there a motion to approve consent minus item E?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Kurtz has moved on our consent minus item E. Trustee Ayers has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Wing.
Yes.
Trustee Hardy.
Yes.
Trustee Ayers.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz.
Yes.
Mayor Karstback.
Yes. All right, items removed from consent will be considered next. And just want to pull Chris's town administrator contract. We have a fantastic town administrator. I have the joy of working with several other city managers and town administrators in our role. And in my opinion, we have the best. And great guy and great leader. So just want to say that.
I appreciate that very much.
All right, is there a motion to approve item E?
Can I have one question?
Yes,
on
go
that?
ahead.
Since I wasn't here, I'm sorry, but I did see the 3% cost of living increase, and I didn't know if that went through the end of his contract or if we would again next year.
Each year.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there a motion to approve item E?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Trustee Kurtz has moved on this. Trustee Ayers has seconded. Clerk, can we have another roll call vote?
Trustee Hardy.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Wing.
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz.
Yes.
Trustee Ayers.
Yes.
Mayor Karstback.
Yes. All right, item number 2 is the Mountain Avenue and 2nd Street concept update. We have Walt Elish to present. Welcome, Walt.
Recall, back in September, we presented to you, staff and Asher Architects, a number of renderings, conceptual designs for the redevelopment of the public works site. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of input, feedback from you all, which we very much appreciated. And now we're coming back to you after listening to the comments that you provided. Also, between September and mid-November, we had an opportunity to meet with the library, which as my memo indicates, and to see if there was any interest on their part to consider, once again, consider this site for the expansion of their library, because this was one of the sites identified back in 2020 in the report. And they indicated, yes, there might be some interest in them. So we're excited to present to you, and David Strennan now with Asher Architects is going to be presenting to you a rendering conceptual design showing our new Rutherford library on this site. Now, it's still very preliminary, so I don't want anybody to think it's a definite. Very preliminary, more discussion has to happen, but it gives you an idea of what could we do with this site if the library decides to expand onto this site. So I'm going to invite David to come up.
Good evening, trustees. Thank you very much for having us back. And once again, I'm Josh McCarn, our landscape architect with us. We've talked with several members of the community as well as town staff numerous times about this project. It's been fun over the last couple of months to kind of dial things in, try different options, and as well talk with Amy at the library. And we've got a site plan here that Josh will walk you through that provides a nice space for the library, nice space for the community, and incorporates a lot of the ideas that we discussed when we first spoke.
So as you can see here, taking into your past comments, keeping more open space along Mountain Avenue and Second there. We've got a large plaza, tree covered, very flexible space. You know, it could be a gathering space for events or vendors during parades, those sort of things. And then the building to the north is first and second floor retail and business with a restaurant in that area. You can see it'd be yeah, you can stand there. And then we've got just a few apartments up top on the third floor, and David will kind of walk you through and show you how we were able to make 3 stories work without it looking imposing, and kind of, you know, fit that historic character and, you know, along with the Berthoud vibe in the area there. There's rooftop access for the restaurant, so there's outdoor seating on the roof there, and then also a third floor rooftop area as well. And Breezeway will connect through from the Gateway Plaza, kind of activating the alley, and then the hidden plaza beyond, which that building to the south end, and be able to house the library and another additional restaurant, cafe in that area. That plaza, we designed it to have a kind of bandstand or performance area with some public restrooms attached, kind of giving a nod to the bandstand that used to be over by the elevator. And then also interactive fountain in that space, and there's a more open plaza that can be, you know, reprogrammed for, you know, things like ice skating in the winter, and then you know, the fountain in the summer, and then turn it off for events. Also allows for outdoor seating. There's some raised planters for additional seating in there as well, and then rooftop spaces as well for the library in that area. And then I'll turn it over to David. He can walk you all through the renderings here.
So this first one is the northern plaza that's off of Mountain. So we set the building back so there could be nice seating areas outdoors that are nice and quiet, a little bit away from the street, but you're still watching, you know, people on the street. Got a restaurant space in the distance there with an upper level patio and a roll of garage doors, indoor outdoor space for that restaurant. On the ground level, we were thinking this could be maybe 3 retail spaces that'd be 600 to 1,000 square foot, kind of smaller retail that would, you know, work with the size of Berthoud currently. Possibly the second floor here could be office space. We were doing a lot of research to see what's available on the market right now. And even though there's a lot of office space in Berthoud, there's very little that's available for rent at the moment. And same goes for residential. If you try to find anything residential under 1,400 square feet in Berthoud, if you select those criteria, 0 show up in the town. So we thought there definitely is a need for that smaller livable space at a lower rate. So the top floor, it's only 3,300 square feet, so it could be 500-700 square foot studio apartments. It's not a lot. It can maybe be 5 to 10 people living here, but it still accomplishes that idea of eyes on the streets for security. People are less likely to loiter if they know someone lives there. So it still accomplishes that, but it doesn't fill the street with parking. But still, it's a handful of regular customers for these small retail spaces. And then the next one here is off of Welsh, and what we thought here, we created 2 additional small retail spaces on the ground floor on the left side here. These could be connected to the library, or they could be independent. They're 600 to 800 square feet apiece. And then the right-hand side on the ground level, as well as the entire second floor, would be the library. This is about 1,200 square feet for the library. They currently are operating out of about 5,000 and 12,000, sorry, I mean 1,200, 12,000. So this is what Amy had asked for. She thought that probably about what they could use right now. So you'd have a nice entry right at the corner of Second and Welsh for the library. That'd be where you'd have your checkout counter and information desk, and then there'd be a stairway and elevator to the second floor where the remainder of your book areas would be. And there could also be a coffee shop or cafe attached to it. That hidden plaza would be a great space for outdoor reading for children in the summer. And you can see how that arched breezeway connects all the way back through the mountain to pull people through this space. And then the third floor would be a glassed-in area that could be a meeting space, an event space. That third floor could be rented out, could be a way that the library makes additional income. There's a large rooftop patio there that could be utilized. There'd be great mountain views from this space. We thought with all the comments you guys had last time and talking with other community members and town staff, that this incorporates a lot of the ideas and gives a good starting point to continue to talk about how this property could be developed in the future. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer.
Questions?
Couple.
Mr. Wing?
These three green rectangles, it says rooftop seating, so I can't tell if we're looking straight down, but my assumption is those would be whatever, 2 or 3 story buildings and then have usage on the top. Is that accurate?
Right, be an astroturf space, an outdoor lawn.
But they're rooftops.
They sure are.
Okay, great. Second question is, what's the status of libraries today?
As far as how much they're being used.
Are they used at all? Are they? I have no idea. Are they dead because everybody's on their computers at home? Are they thriving? I just don't know what's going on with libraries.
Luckily, we have the town librarian.
Yeah, no, what's really?
Take that one, but if you want, I'll take that one.
Sounds like they could utilize some more space.
Yeah, Brett missed your presentation, buddy. Sometime ago.
Amy's gonna answer that much more professionally.
Even, are there still hard copies of books? Is that still a thing?
You gotta visit our library.
Yeah, you gotta swing by.
I only read hard copy. I can't hold it, I don't want it.
Hubs for a community.
Still,
They're not going by the wayside.
okay.
And Amy, I think, will verify that and talk about that. But my experience, my wife happens to work for a library in Fort Collins. It's busy all the time.
And it wasn't a predetermined
I know,
question.
I know.
I wasn't implying it. I'm just really
Everybody
curious.
has that. I mean, now, you heard that 5 years ago, all libraries are gonna close down. You know, universities are getting rid of all their books and all that. That's not happening. Okay. Libraries are still very much an important element in ingredient in a lively downtown area. My opinion. Based on my family experience. Amy will,
Yeah, you wanna address that now?
Want me
Amy?
to take that now?
I think that makes sense.
Libraries are not dead.
I want you to feel that. I think that's
I read the Wall Street
I think it
Journal,
is a great
hard
question.
copy every day, and I read hard copy
Yeah.
books, so I'm with you.
Our library specifically, libraries vary nationwide, so can I say that all libraries are thriving? No. But our library circulation is up year over year, and that includes ebooks, but also hard copy. So yes, people are still checking out the physical books. We have had to move from 2 story times a week to 3 because of the number of kids and
Great.
families who are in. We have also had to extend our hours, so we are open now until 8 o'clock in the evening instead of 6 on Wednesdays and Thursdays, just to give people more time to be in there. The digital divide is still a thing, and I think that for folks who have really good, high-quality internet access places, you take that for granted, but there are people within our own community even. If you head out towards Carter Lake, internet access gets a little bit funkier, so we do still have people who are doing work and school work in our building because they're allowed to be there as long as they need to be, and we have the internet that they need, so, programming, checkouts, and all of that technology stuff, we're doing a lot, and more than we ever have, so.
That's great.
How'd I
Thank
do? Did that answer the question?
Yeah.
Any other for me?
Well, I guess, while you're up here,
Sure.
yeah, I guess I have nothing in particular, just, I mean, a significant amount of space is dedicated for, do you have any, doesn't sound like you have any current plans to adjust right into it. I know there's a need for space, so is this we're the first ones to kind of see this, right? It hasn't gone through your board yet or anything?
Our board talked about it very briefly in terms of if space was available for us to move into, would they take it?
Oh.
Because I, as a staff member, don't get to make that decision. And it was a resounding yes.
Good.
That would be fantastic. We are somewhere between 2 and 3 sizes smaller than we need to be. There is no, I wish I could tell you there's a national standard for like, this is the square footage that a library building should be. There isn't one. It really is dependent on what a community is willing to put into that kind of space, but we based those calculations back in 2020 when we were master planning on the kind of spaces that people are asking us for that we currently cannot provide. So we do not have private study rooms, which is a big request that we get a lot, both because people want to study, but also they want to take work meetings. Telehealth is a big thing. You need kind of private spaces for that with reliable internet access. We don't have any of that to offer. Our community room is too small. Part of the reason that we have gone to 3 story times a week is to kind of separate out the kids by age a little bit because it was just getting too packed. And it's hard to effectively do story time for people when everyone's kind of, I don't want to move and I don't want to, so looking at the meeting spaces, some of the staff spaces that are still in need. We are too small, and so
great.
yes, to be able to expand would be fantastic.
Makes sense. Yes. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, just regarding the existing building and this new space that might become available, how do you see the spatial functions kind of working for the library
We would
between those two?
vacate our current.
Totally?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
We would either sell it or lease it out because we would need the finances from that in order to pay for being
Okay.
in a new space. So we would not maintain 2 spaces immediately adjacent to each other. We don't need that much space. We don't need our 5,500 plus another 12,000. That would be unmanageable with our current staff size and our current budget and all of that. So we would use our current building as a way to sort of finance that move.
Okay.
You used a metric, a word. It wasn't subscriptions. It wasn't.
Circulation,
Yeah. What is that?
checkouts. So
Check
when
out.
somebody checks something out, we call that circulation.
And not
So-
necessarily a Barnes and Noble purchase, but they're checking something.
Correct, yep, so whenever anyone takes home a book, a DVD, or if they check out an ebook
Okay.
or an e-audiobook, something like that. There are also online research tools that we have subscriptions to that people use. I don't have good metrics on those, but those would also be included in that circulation.
Okay. Excuse my ignorance on this, but is a library privately owned or is it somehow associated with government? Well, I don't even know how you guys function.
We're kind of a special district. So public libraries are organized, they have their own special section under the Colorado Revised Statutes. So we're not, I shouldn't say that. There are multiple ways to be organized in the state of Colorado. You can be part of the town, which our library was for a lot of years, became a library district and therefore independent in 2009, I think. I wasn't here, so I'm not, don't quote me on the year. But if it helps you to kind of visualize it, we do not share boundaries with the town exactly. We share boundaries with the fire district within Larimer County. So we have people who live outside of town to the west that are in the library district. But there are people who live in Berthoud to the east who are part of the High Plains Library District.
So as a district, do you get tax revenue?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are about 95% property tax
Thank you.
funded.
Do we have,
I had one other question, and I'll be the first to say I was disappointed that, the voter initiative a number of years back didn't work out. Would this require a voter initiative, or to be determined once you?
To be determined.
Yeah.
We hope not.
Yeah.
And certainly if it did, we would be asking for a smaller amount.
A smaller, yeah.
Because we wouldn't be actually constructing buildings
Sure.
like we needed to.
Okay, thanks.
And one of the things we talked about, all of this is conceptual, right?
Mhm.
I mean, we're all brainstorming at this point still.
Mhm.
But I think there's a couple of different ways we could do this. The town could build it and lease it to the library. I think there's an opportunity for us to find a development partner, a private developer. The town can contribute the land. The library guarantees a long-term lease as kind of like an anchor tenant for the building that helps to make this a less risky investment for them. They can then lease out the other retail spaces to generate some profit and to operate the facility. We could give the land to the library, and they could do a smaller initiative and build a building. I mean, there's a lot of different ways we could make this happen that I think are still very much up in the air. And there's some other potential tenants, even for the north side, some of whom are in the room tonight, that we've had some initial conversations with. Habitat is looking to expand their footprint, looking for additional office space. So we may have other kind of tenant partners that we could fill out a significant majority of the space planned. And so then you're just looking to rent a few smaller suites, right? Which is much riskier than building 25, 30,000 square feet of new space.
Mhm.
It's like if I was going to build a new shopping center and I had a grocery store anchor that was going to take 80,000 of the, 130,000 square feet, it'd be a whole lot less risky than building 130,000 square feet and hoping I can fill all, right? So having a couple of what I would call anchor tenants, there's a lot of interest in. I think there's some possibilities that make this, financially pretty viable.
Yeah. Any other questions from the trustees?
One other question, not for the library, but the architect.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy.
There's just a pretty, there's a pretty big grouping of trees on the top of this. Is that the most effective use of that space?
Yeah, so the trees, you think about street trees, they're gonna be limbed up well above your head, right? So if you think about it, it's basically gonna be an open plaza, and you're gonna have tree trunks in there. It'll be providing some shade. You'll see it a lot in European cities as well, where they'll just have, you'll have a large plaza just covered with trees, and then the ground plane, everybody's underneath it. It's a great multi-use space. You can, very flexible, you can move the furniture around. Vendors, things like that can, be situated in all different sorts of spaces. And it just makes for a very flexible space. The trees, provide, that kind of garden vibe as you pull into Berthoud there. And then it also helps keep that space cool as well. Once once they grow in, you get a nice shade canopy, and kind of extends the architectural plane out towards the street there. So, it kind of provides a big living awning for the building there.
There's a good example of that down by Denver Union Station. I've been down there recently. There's kind of one side that is plaza space with interactive fountains and it's rainbow trees, and there's another side that's a whole lot of trees. So even as a local example, there's some good built examples you can look at. I think in terms of is that the best use of the space, it's really becomes a little bit of a qualitative decision. You'll remember the first time we came and showed you a concept, we had buildings up against the street in a kind of a much more urban downtown kind of feel. There was a lot of talk or concern about, the streetscape and the view as you come into town. So having some greenery, having an open plaza, it creates some public space that could be used for all kinds of events or activities, parties. And it does soften that entrance to town where you don't have buildings right up against the sidewalk. So so we did, in this concept, push it back based on some of that discussion.
Yeah, I was gonna say the setback to the first floor, and then there it is. Yeah, and then on the roofs, another setback, it kind of creates, it's less domineering, like you said.
It
is
really
nice.
helps soften that three-story feel,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, it makes it a little more open and welcoming as you come into town, so kind of, since it's a little wider there, you'll feel like, that you need to go investigate and see what's happening in there. So.
Well, I don't know if we were very helpful the last time we spoke, because I feel like our feedback was all over the place, but I personally liked this.
Yeah. Lovely.
So however you took that and made this, good job.
I love the architecture too. I think it really fits in. Like straight trees, I love it all. So.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Any other questions?
No questions, just comments.
Comments, go ahead. Trustee Ayers.
Yeah, this looks great. It basically addressed most of the more serious concerns we all had. It uses the space well with that tree canopy, the setbacks on the third story, the multi-use space everywhere is, I think, really useful for sort of a localized plaza, localized businesses, localized restaurants, localized residents. It's multi-use. There's greenery, there's rooftop space, there's those airy breezeways, there's a possible space for a library. So this looks awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Other comments? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, no, I think you guys have kind of produced the best concept of them all. Kind of ripping off the neighboring architecture, I think really helps. The setbacks. I'd like to see a little more engagement on Mountain with the building facades, but I think this works. And yeah, it's really exciting. I think you guys are really headed in the right direction. So, one thing I wanted to bring up, just for the future considerations for truck access to the rear of these buildings and stuff. That's the only thing. So.
And we have kept the alley, we're using it, flip back to that one. It still will be used as like a shared street concept, so it'll look pedestrian, but it'll have vehicular access. So you will have truck access along there, and then all the utilities beneath it. It won't be that much of an issue.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to mention on our, as we go back to our rendering here, another reason we had pushed the building back from your comments was to make sure the mural and things like that were still available. So if you kind of look between the trees over there and the front of that building, you can see you can still see the mural. So still get a nice sight line to that, and I think
perfect.
That helps activate that alley too. If any future businesses decide to have alley loaded entrances.
Thanks. That explains things. Yeah.
Any comments? Thank you very much. This is really exciting.
Nice. Good job.
So I think with some of the positive feedback we heard about the overall site plan design, we'll start to put together some, I guess pro forma is probably the best way to describe it. Some financial projections about how this, could possibly work in the future. We haven't done any construction cost estimates yet, but we can just do some really rough calculations on cost per square foot. And then thinking about, what kind of options we might try to pursue, whether it's, the town building it and leasing it out, whether it's the, finding a private development partner, whether it's contributing land to other partners, letting them build. I think we can flesh out a few of those options and bring them back to you in the next couple of months. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very cool. Okay, great. We can move on now to, this is an adoption of the 3 Mile Plan and a public hearing. I'll let Ann go through the steps of a public hearing. Our Community Development Director, Ann Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor Perspeck and members of the Town Board of Trustees. So this is exactly the same plan that you heard nearly a year ago on December 12th of last year. So we haven't made any changes to the plan. The town is not proposing to extend our urban growth boundary at all. The same, transportation, utility infrastructure, nothing has changed from where we anticipate growing in the future. in the future, we might want to revisit this, or we'll just want to revisit the designations within. However, tonight is really just establishing that boundary. And again,
Okay.
Planning Commission heard it last year, voted unanimously, you heard it last year, nothing has changed. This is a formality to bring it before you for an annual adoption. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Same thing, identical to a GMA, right? Just another word for it.
Yep.
Great, we have no questions. Thank you. I'll open up the public comment portion. And let's see if we have anyone signed up. Okay, we have no one signed up under public comment, so I will close that, bring it back to the board for deliberation and a vote. Are we all supportive? Okay, all right. Anyone would like to move on this?
Sure, I'll move to approve ordinance 1350, an ordinance of the Town of Berthoud Board of Trustees adopting the Town of Berthoud 3-mile plan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have trustee Kurtz has made the ordinance, Mayor Pro Tem has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
Trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Mayor Karstad.
Yes, all right, thank you. And if you come back up, great. This is for support of a Great Outdoors Colorado grant, and for everyone in the audience, Great Outdoors Colorado is money pulled from lottery. Did I get this wrong?
We're doing the final.
Oh, just kidding, I'm sorry. Yep,
Whichever one you want to do.
Yeah. Okay, yep. Sorry, so we have Farmstead second filing. Let's turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Karstad, members of the Town Board of Trustees. So I'd like to introduce Luke Sieber. He is here. He is our development review engineer. He used to be with Baseline. He's now a staff member, and we're so happy he's here. He's just going to walk through this formality of finishing up something that needed to be done for Farmstead filing too.
Welcome.
All right, good evening.
Welcome to the town, too.
Thank you. So tonight I'll be discussing the dedication of right-of-way along County Line Road and State Highway 56 for the construction of 2 roundabouts related to the Farmstead second filing development. So on the map that's in your exhibit and on the screen, the blue highlighted areas are areas that were designated for additional right-of-way to construct the 3 intersections connecting the Farmstead second filing development to County Line Road. The right-of-way can be dedicated in 2 ways. The first via a plat, and the second via board action. The Nebraska Avenue intersection on the bottom of this map was dedicated with the second filing subdivision plat. And after that plat was recorded, both Tenderfoot Drive and State Highway 56 had subdivision plans come in and were approved. And so those need a board action to acquire the additional right-of-way. The developer needs to construct any off-site improvements for the roundabout. In the event of acceptance, the deeds of dedication that are included in your packets will be recorded with the Weld and Larimer counties, and then a replat of Farmstead Filing 2 will be recorded referencing each of these deeds. So when someone looks at the Farmstead plat in the future, they can see where all the documents for the right-of-way dedication included in this project. Town staff recommends acceptance of the right-of-way for construction as been approved.
Thank you. Any questions? Oh, sorry, did I just interrupt you?
No.
Okay, great. Any questions for Mr. Sieber?
I have a random.
Please go ahead. Trustee Ayers.
Is there any legal repercussions? It looks like on Tenderfoot there's a lot that's being affected.
I don't think this is exact.
Okay.
You'll see in your packet that it's very well delineated where
Okay.
the right-of-way is.
The developer is dedicating the right-of-way to accomplish their goals, and so they knew that they were gonna have to lose some lots in order to do that.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I want.
Please, Trustee Wing.
I don't see it clearly indicated on this map, but if I understand you, both where Nebraska and Tenderfoot intersect County Line Road, there's going to be roundabouts at both those intersections. Is that accurate?
All three of these actually. So Nebraska, Tenderfoot, and Highway 56 will all have.
So speed limit is 55 there on 56?
I believe it's, I don't know what it is right now.
Hitting
It'll be-
hitting a roundabout at
Chief is
55.
nodding his head, so, no,
It's 45.
it's 45.
Speeds,
Currently 55, but when the roundabout's going in that
that's right.
close of succession, there's no way the speed limit can get back to 55.
Yeah, and CDOT reviewed and approved all the plans for the roundabout on Highway 56, and so they know that there will be speed reductions. Obviously, you can't have a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit coming into that roundabout, so there will be natural speed reductions
I
on.
was gonna say, someone will try.
Put a ramp in the middle.
That is why roundabouts are kind of sloped. You know, it's
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right, I'm just gonna open it up for public comment. Anyone in the audience by chance? Okay, thank you very much. Bring it back to the board for any discussion. We all sound good on this one too?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a resolution or a motion on this one?
I'll move to approve resolution 2024-19, a resolution of the Town of Berthoud Board of Trustees accepting title to certain real property parcels in the Town of Berthoud.
Second.
Okay, trustee Ayers has moved and trustee Hardy has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on this one as well?
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Karstad.
Yes. Excellent, thank you very much. And,
Can I ask, it's after the fact, may I ask a question? Or is
sure,
it-
go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, if it makes it helps out.
I just, on that County Line Road, right now when people come up to that, sometimes you got 20 cars backed
Yeah.
up on this, it's tough, and my point is, with so much traffic on 56, and I guess this is CDOT who makes this decision, but would we envision that being like a 2-lane roundabout?
Chris,
And there's a lot of traffic.
It'll have to have a pretty significant carrying capacity. It's a
Right.
big roundabout. You're right, there's a lot of traffic on Mountain. It'll actually improve your ability to get in and out of County Line Road. Because like right now, if you're like heading northbound on County Line Road and you're trying to turn left onto
It's tough.
56, it can be really hard at certain parts of the day. That's the beauty of a roundabout, is that it moves traffic, right? They're slower, but traffic rarely stops and sits. And so even at peak times, there may be some smaller backups, but it'll be pretty effective.
Thank you for letting me ask that question.
Yes, thank you. It's a good one. Okay, now we have, thank you very much, trustee Curtis, you corrected me, a resolution in support of the Great Outdoors Colorado grant application. And we have Community Development Director Ann Johnson.
All right, thank you. So, Chris, in establishing relationship with Colorado Open Lands and staff, including Brian, working on some grant applications for property acquisition along the Little Thompson River corridor. This is a grant, and the town was invited by GoCo to apply for this grant, and a requirement of the formal grant application package, which will be submitted before Monday. It requires a resolution of support so that GoCo understands that you all are aware of our matching requirements and what we are requesting from GoCo. So the resolution that you see is a form that was provided by GoCo, and we are just asking that you acknowledge and support the town's request for GoCo funding to help acquire property along the Little Thompson River corridor.
Thank you.
And big staff, as well as Colorado Open Lands have been helping us with this project.
Fantastic. Questions for Ann on this? And so this is, go ahead.
I have are we having to fight with other municipalities for the grant money?
It is competitive, yes.
How about in the region? What other municipalities in the area are, I guess, trying to do similar things to what we're trying to do?
So we don't know who all is competing in this region for GoCo. But what we do know is that this particular fund is a popular fund, and they have pre-screening, and then we were screened once and invited to apply, and then it will still be a competitive process for the award process as well. So we might be competing with 30 other communities. We'll know once it's announced who were the recipients in early 2025. We'll know more then.
When we did meet, we did meet with a representative from GOCO after we submitted our concept paper, and they selected us to, they invited us to apply. She let us know at that time that I'll get these numbers wrong, so please don't quote me, but I think there was 16 applications or concept papers. I think they invited 11 to apply, and I think they felt like there might be enough funding for 7. So I think the odds are really good in that sense now that we've been invited to apply. And there's no guarantees, but I do recall on that call her suggesting that maybe there were limited number of applications in this area for this fund. So we may be more competitive because of that. I think frankly we have a very compelling application. They get it. Trying to preserve open space and agricultural land along the Little Thompson River corridor has a lot of benefits that GOCO is really looking for, recreational, environmental. So I think we're going to be very competitive.
And we have to match this?
There is a 20% match, but I think that's right.
We're matching more.
We are. But I think there's a minimum match requirement.
Okay.
What we're suggesting is that all the money we've already expended on open space purchase, as well as what we would be expending on this particular purchase, far exceeds the match requirement. So we really presented this as more of, instead of a single land purchase, although we are going to target these funds for one particular property, but we really presented it as an entire Little Thompson River corridor preservation project. So, we made the argument that the Beefus farm that we purchased, and it is, we're not just making stuff up, it was part of this kind of larger effort. So we want to look at the entire corridor as an entire project and not just focus on one piece of land. And I think that was compelling for GOCO, based on the feedback we got in our concept paper review.
Yes, and we took them on a tour. We have had several phone calls with them, walked through our concept paper, have passed even our draft application by GOCO, the regional representative for Berthoud, and we received comments back from GOCO. So, been in close communication with them.
Is this Alex Castino by chance?
It is.
So she actually was the land agent for Larimer County when I just started on the board. And she was kind of the brainchild of that alternative transfer mechanism that keeps the water on the land, but then can be used elsewhere a certain amount of.
For Little Thompson.
Yeah, it's on the corridor, but I think it's not Little Thompson water though, right?
No, I think it's Broomfield.
It's for Broomfield.
Yeah.
It's called Little Thompson.
Yeah, farm. Yeah, not Mount Shadow.
Obviously.
Anyway, so she was kind of already stomping around our neighborhood trying to look at this stuff, and that's really cool that she's back. Now working for GOCO, but it's really cool. Any other questions, comments?
No.
I'd just like to thank staff for pursuing this grant, and feel free to use us for any further resolution to kind of further discuss, for sure.
Rubber stamp.
How often do you think GOCO does like an ag purchase, or is that common, or are they kind of more looking at anything at all?
Well, they have different categories. They have outdoor recreation, they have preservation and conservation, they have youth in the a youth-centered grant cycle, and they have 3 or 4 grant cycles throughout the year.
Okay.
So just keep buying your lottery tickets.
All right. Okay. Anything else? Anyone want to move on this resolution?
Sure. I will move to approve resolution 2024-20, a resolution of the Town of Berthoud Board of Trustees supporting an application to the State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund for property acquisition.
Thank you. And Trustee Hardy has seconded. Trustee Kurtz has moved. Trustee Hardy has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Mayor Karsbeck.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you. That's exciting. All right. We got a big one on tonight is the 2025 annual budget, and I'll turn it over to Administrator Kirk.
Thank you, Mayor Parksbeck and trustees. Tonight's presentation will not be a presentation since we spent a couple hours doing that in November. So we appreciate the opportunity we had to kind of walk you through the budget. There are very few changes, so I will just highlight them briefly. And there were some questions asked during that budget presentation that I'll try to address tonight, and happy to answer any others that you might have come up with since. But tonight, the goal is to approve the budget and then and the fee schedule for the 2025 fiscal year. From a changes standpoint, and the mill levy for 2025. The changes that occurred since the last budget were very few. And I accidentally closed my window as I was trying to get something else. So I'm going to try to do this from memory as I'm pulling that back up. One of the questions that came up was, could we have food for committee meetings? This is a very minor budget item. We do have unexpended funds in our committee line items each year, but we did add a little bit of money just to make sure that there was, roughly $150 per meeting for pizza or tacos or ice cream or whatever they want to do. But to support our committees, they do have small budgets that they can use for other things throughout the year, including training if necessary and other things. But we did add some funds there. We made some adjustments to some of the line items just to reflect actual costs. So we did have some placeholders in there, even kind of late in the game. And so we've updated some of those. One of those is land acquisition actually associated with some of the open space purchases we had planned. Now we have contract numbers as well as some confidence that our grant is likely to be funded. We've made some adjustments to reflect those revenues and expenses. We also adjusted a line item in the wastewater fund for the Phase 1 AA water reclamation facility project to reflect actual costs expected for 2025. So that actually brought that number down. And I think there's one other thing, if I can get it back up here. That's why I can't find it. I resorted all of my stuff. There we go. The other item we added was increased funding to the Youth Advisory Commission. As you know, they made a request to be able to participate in the Youth Advisory Commission trips to Washington, D.C. There was some support for that, and they wanted to host a summit for other Youth Advisory Commissions in the region, and we think that's a fantastic thing. So we increased their budget as well in the recreational marijuana fund, where we can fund youth activities from. From a question standpoint, there were a handful of other items that didn't directly affect the budget. One question came up about the sidewalks on Bunyan and whether or not they were included in our overall sidewalk projects. So we did originally have Bunyan sidewalks included, but there is some utility work that needs to be done along that stretch. Mm-hmm. So we're going to try to coordinate timing with the utility department, so we don't do asphalt and concrete repairs and then tear it up in a year or two to do that. We do need to do design work for the stretch on the south side of Bunyan between 7th and 1st anyway. So we do plan to do that design work this year. There's some drainage issues and other things that we need to overcome because of a roadside ditch and some other infrastructure through that stretch and the railroad crossing. How do we deal with that? Mm-hmm. So we're going to do that design work this year, but we're not expecting to construct that sidewalk on the south side of Bunyan this year. We are going to do some sidewalk improvements along 4th Street, I think from Bunyan south to Mountain, to kind of fix that corridor to the school. Mm-hmm. There are sidewalks through there, but some of them are non-compliant. There are tripping hazards and other things, so that is on our list to do that stretch from, I think, all the way from Mountain to Bunyan on 4th. There was also a question about so that's actually it for the budget.
No way, this might be the most brief budget I've ever had.
We did talk a lot at the last
meeting. You did great, I would say. Yeah.
I was lulling everybody to sleep last time, so I didn't want to belabor any of that, but I am happy to answer any questions about the budget, and obviously our awesome finance director Cindy is here as well, so if there's any questions you do have about the budget, I'm happy to answer those now or later. On the fee schedule, the question came up, how do our solar fees compare to other jurisdictions in the region? For residential solar in particular. We have a flat solar fee of $500. That's all that gets charged. on a solar installation regardless of size or valuation. When we looked at the other jurisdictions around us, it varies pretty significantly. Most of them are driven by the valuation of the improvements. And so we do capture valuation information when we collect a permit application for solar install. The valuation of those installs ranges, Ann and I were actually just looking at it this afternoon and this evening. Oh, she's not here. I was like waving as if she was still in the room.
Yeah, I'm out.
Ann,
Yeah.
right there. But we were just looking at the last few months just to kind of double check. Most of our valuations for solar installs are probably in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. Some are 15, some are 60. There were actually multiple that were in the $60,000 range. So a lot of that's driven by the number of kilowatt hours that are going to be generated, the type of solar panels, how much work needs to be done in order to mount them to the roof and all that kind of stuff. But if you based a valuation, at like a $35,000 average, and you compare that to jurisdictions around us like Johnstown, Windsor, Meade, even Larimer County, those fees are probably going to be in the $350 range. They do tack on to other fees. Like we don't include an admin fee or tech fee, even though those are typical on most of our, like our single family building permits. We have some other, $25 and $40 and $50 fees that all kind of add into one total. On our solar fees, it's just straight $500. And so when you tack on some of those others, we're probably very close to those other jurisdictions. There's some around us like Boulder where it's, I think the base fee would be more like $485, and then based on the total valuation, it's a cost per $1,000 of evaluation that gets added to that. That could be as high as $600 or $700. There are other jurisdictions that do have flat fees, not neighboring jurisdictions, but like Aurora, they have a flat $500 fee, just like we did, like we were suggesting. But that covers any plan review, any inspections, no matter how many there need to be, if there's 1 or 4 or 6, for the building inspector to go out and inspect electrical connections and roof mounts and all that stuff. So we feel like that $500 fee is reasonable within the region and covers our costs in most cases.
Does our requirement to have new homes constructed over whatever date to be solar ready potentially reduce costs because part of the electrical work is already there? I know it's probably baked in and recovered to some degree, but it's just done at a scale now here in Berthoud that maybe other municipalities don't experience. So.
Generally speaking, the passive solar infrastructure includes room in the panel, as I understand it, and I'm not an expert on this, but as I understand, it's generally room in the panel for that connection, as well as conduit to the roof, so that it's easy to pull wire back to the panel. So that can be one of the really challenging parts of solar installs. How do you get the wiring back to where it needs to go? Kind of pre-installing conduit to make that a simple wire pull, that does reduce some costs for the homeowner, but from a valuation standpoint, obviously the majority of the valuation is the panels. That's a big ticket item.
Cool. Anything else regarding the budget for the board?
There was one other question that the board had about just kind of total fee comparison for like new single family construction. We did have a comparison that was done back in 2022. I didn't update it because the vast majority of our fees haven't changed since then, or all of our impact fees and other things. But when you look at what we were charging then, it is slightly higher now because our plan review fees are a little higher, just they've increased over a couple of years. But they're still in that $36,000 to $40,000 range per house. That's what it costs for impact fees, meters, plan review, inspection fees. At the time, Johnstown was almost exactly what we are. Evans was much more expensive. Timnath was the most expensive in the region at the time, up near $60,000. Meade is in the $50,000 range. Firestone's in the 40s. Loveland was a little bit less than us at about 35. So again, because our fees haven't changed significantly, I would expect us to still be kind of in the bottom third in the region in terms of total fee costs for a new single family home. So just, that question came up. Again, I think our fees are relative to the market. We are updating all of our impact fees right now As you know, we initiated a study to do that. So all of our non-utility and utility impact fees, we should have the first draft of that report before the end of this month, and then hope to get that to you for review in early next year. And I would expect our fees to increase because all those fees were based on projected construction costs for new improvements that were calculated back, 5 or more years ago. And we know obviously things are significantly more expensive to build than they are today, but we have built some of those improvements too. So there's going to be some balance, but I would expect the suggested fees to increase. Part of the scope of that effort is to compare those fees to the jurisdictions around us as well, just as a sanity check to make sure that we're not way out of bounds. But like we've talked about before, every jurisdiction's fees are different because we all need different improvements based on our own standards, our own town, the way our town's built. But we also don't want to be 200% more expensive than everybody else. So like I said, we'll do a sanity check by looking at the other jurisdictions in our neighborhood, but we'll bring in those fees in early 2025.
Great. Cool.
So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but that's it from us tonight.
Thank you. Questions regarding the budget?
Yeah, can you explain why the valuation dropped?
For
the overall valuation of 285 million, essentially that the mill levy, I think, is applied to.
Is it a Tabor thing, maybe?
I'll let Cindy address the mill levy, if that's okay.
So the mill levy question would be, I saw that in 2024, it dropped about 60 basis points to the previous 3 years. And now back 2025, it's kind of back to those historical numbers, 21, 22, and 23. So that would be one of my questions. And then I just noticed that it was surprising that the valuation dropped. I mean, it's not significant, but it is about 7 million. I would think with homes values going up and inflation and everything, that was a little bit of a surprise.
My suspicion is, so we get those valuation numbers from the county. And so I don't want to stop Cindy from getting up, but she did say she's hoping not to have to talk to him too much.
Oh, I think Larry do it.
Hi. Well, yeah, unfortunately, the valuation just comes straight from the county.
Okay.
So we don't have, whether or not it was a change when they did the evaluation changes from last year. Remember when it went way up and then people went in and contested.
Okay.
And then several of them came back down. So it could be that.
How many new homes did we have in 24?
How many homes?
Ballpark.
So the reassessment doesn't happen that quick, but even if you look back at 2023, it was in the 200.
Again, I'm just curious more than anything, but you would think with inflation of homes being still going up 5 or 6%, an incremental 200 new homes, you would think the valuation dollars would go up. So I'm fine with that.
There's also a part of the valuation, especially from Weld County, is from oil and gas. And that's a few years ago, the oil and gas amount from Weld County was huge. And I mean, it's dropped, millions and millions.
Okay.
So that could be, I mean.
That sounds like a good
to be able to
explanation.
say exactly, I mean, it's a combination of things, but I know that the oil and gas, has come way down.
Okay, and so therefore, if our expenses were to remain static, it would create a higher percentage of the valuation, which would have the mill levy go up. Is that logical?
Sort of. The way the mill levy is calculated, it's really just a statutory calculation. Like we plug in numbers we're given from somebody else, and it spits out a total mill levy. But yeah, there's valuation, there's expenses, all that stuff gets calculated out and spits out a number. In general, if our valuation as a community does not increase over time, in order to maintain revenues, the mill levy would necessarily have to go up.
It would, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the mill levy that we have in the resolution is the maximum amount that we can charge based on what we have our voters.
So the 9.636 we're governed on that. That's a number.
The only way that that can go up is if you take that to the voters and
Okay.
ask them to increase it.
So therefore, our revenue is capped at that same percentage of the valuation, right?
Yes,
Okay.
there's an amount that they allow, it's like a 5.5%, they call 5.5% increase.
Mm-hmm.
So each year they give us the limit. So based on the valuation, we still have a limit. So we're given a valuation and we take our mill levy times the valuation and get the property tax amount, but we can still only collect up to the limit. So we take the lesser of the limit or what our calculation is. This year, actually, last year, if the limit actually comes in, if what our calculation comes in higher, we can do, or lower, we can do a temporary mill decrease to be able to collect more. But this particular time, we didn't, we took the maximum amount that we can take based on our mill levy.
Thank you.
So we're actually losing about $52,000. It's not a lot, but based on the limit, because our mill levy will only allow us to take this amount. Does that make sense?
It sure does. Thank you.
Other questions for staff? Excellent, thank you.
I'll bring up one.
Trustee Murphy, Mayor Pro Tem Murphy.
It's all good. No, I'd just like to thank Director Johnson and Administrator Kirk for kind of looking into those issues. Just for a clarification point, on kind of the South Bunyan work and stuff. So if all goes well, we can be looking at a design sometime mid-year or late this year, and then looking at doing that in 26 if all goes well.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, we have some utility issues we want to sort out before we do that. Doesn't mean we necessarily have to build them, we just need to know exactly where everything's gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible that if we got the design done, we could do sidewalk work, curb gutter and sidewalk. If it's not gonna be impacted by future utilities, we can start that work later this year probably.
Okay.
Or later in 2025.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But we gotta get the design done first anyway.
Yeah, and there's power poles in the ditch through there. I don't know if it's XL that holds that or if there's
Not sure
anything
in that
else
part
in
of
that
town,
easement.
actually.
I don't know. But, okay,
But
thanks.
there are a variety of utilities through there, you're right, including water. There's water right
Sure.
underneath where the sidewalk would go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this time I'll open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to our budget, fee schedule, override? Okay, we have no one signed up, thank you, Clay. So I will bring it back to the board for deliberation and a vote. Y'all feel good about this?
You're good.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to
go ahead.
reaffirm, great, we gave kudos out when we went over the details, but thought it was a great job on the budget.
Fantastic, it really is. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
And Administrator Kirkman.
All right, we got a couple here and then also resolutions and then an ordinance. So we'll start out with resolution 2024-21. And let's move on that.
Sure, I can move to adopt resolution 2024-21, a resolution authorizing the expenditure of funds in excess of the 2024 budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, clerk, can we have a roll call vote on this?
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
Trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Clark, Mayor Kirschback. I
Yes, thank
apologize.
you. Trustee Kurtz, mind taking this one too?
Sure,
You're on the roll.
I can run it down, yeah. I move to adopt resolution 2024-22, a resolution summarizing expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a budget for the town of Berthoud, Colorado for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2025 and ending on the last day of December 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Trustee Kurtz has moved, Mayor Pro Tem Murphy has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote on this?
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy,
Yes.
Trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
Mayor Kirschback.
Yes, thank you.
All right, I move to adopt resolution 2024-23, a resolution appropriating sums of money to various funds in the amounts and for the purposes set forth for the town of Berthoud, Colorado for the 2025 budget year.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, trustee Kurtz has moved on this. Mayor Pro Tem has seconded. Clerk, we have a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
trustee Ayers,
Yes.
trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Kurtzberg.
Yes, all right, a final resolution. Trustee Kurtz? Or this is a-
One
yeah,
resolution,
yeah.
you're right, yeah. Final, move to adopt resolution 2024-24, a resolution of the town of Berthoud adopting a fee schedule for all town fees as provided in Berthoud Municipal Code.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, trustee Kurtz has moved. Mayor Pro Tem has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Wing,
Yes.
trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Mayor Kurtzberg.
Yes, thank you. And finally, our ordinance.
I move to adopt ordinance 1351, an ordinance of the town board of the town of Berthoud levying the taxes for the year 2025 to defray the costs of the municipal government of Berthoud, Colorado for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2025, and ending December 31st, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Kurtz has moved. Mayor Pro Tem has seconded. Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Wing,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy,
Yes.
trustee Ayers,
Yes.
trustee Kurtz,
Yes.
trustee Hardy,
Yes.
Mayor Kurtzberg.
Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Mhm.
You're the fastest one in history.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Couple
knew
years ago.
there would
couple
be
years
no
ago,
resolutions on this.
No, this
until
would've-
the day of December.
This would have been a 1 a.m. conversation a couple of years ago. Poor Cindy.
We put in the work during the initial reading. That was,
That's right, we
that was the long.
All right, let's move on to reports. We'll start off with trustee Ayers.
So Port Committee met last week and there was an update on on the 2025 project list. It was an exhaustive list. It was nice. All of the committee members were happy that so many projects are going around town. Some of them started, some of them are in planning, some of them are wrapping up. So it was good news all around. I guess the big ones, the more ones at the top of my list, there's some flooding on the Hillsdale Trail over by the bridge on the west end of the connection that engineers are out trying to figure out what's going on to be fixed. That's upcoming.
Is that in the park itself?
It's the neighborhood is draining into where the bridge connects to the north side of the river, and there's some issues with pooling water.
Okay.
I think they said that the issue was probably because of the new developments. The water is not draining as it used to be, and so it's kind of all funneling down at the same time. It's just
Quicker,
causing some
yeah,
flooding issues. Yeah. There have been some illegal parking problems at the reservoir, so plans are to move the access gate south on the access road next to 10E. I didn't realize that was happening, but I guess it's very clearly
Oh, I
marked
see that
as
little, okay.
authorized vehicles only.
Makes sense.
So that was kind of an issue that was being fixed. Berthoud Parkway Trail to begin January, question mark. It's gonna be cement, so that'll be good access to the east side
January,
of
sweet.
the possible park there.
That's January, sweet, that's quick.
Yada 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 yada. The Spartan Crossing is plans are in the works. That's going to be a long project, so 25 into 26 possibly. Jaskowski property is finally coming back with some finalized information, and that is going to probably come in front of the board in second quarter 25. Arboretum 60% plans by February, hopefully documents done by third quarter next year. And meeting for the Wagner Farm rec pool in February, construction possibly summer 26. And there's still a vacancy on Port, so if you guys know anybody, please get the word out. Have there been any applications?
We have not received any.
Oh, we could get that one done. So they apply anytime and we'll hold a special kind of interview just for that role?
Yes, that's correct.
Let's get that one.
It's usually one that's got people waiting to be in.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So the Jaskowski, they'll come back for a final review to, or presentation to us?
Mhm.
Is that
that's
from the
correct,
staff
right?
or?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we submit or would that go through, Open Lands first and then to us or?
We've already been coordinating with them, and I think we've gotten tacit approval from them for frisbee golf out there. They were worried about the grasses and people wandering off the trail and other things, but I think we've generally gotten through that. So I think we've got most of their consent at this point.
Great. And so the Spartan crossing, what is this?
That's the Spartan Avenue crossing of the railroad.
Right,
Yeah.
but that can't be for motorized vehicle. You're talking, is this a
Yeah.
trail?
No, the Spartan is designed to connect across the railroad tracks to Nebraska, the
Correct.
road.
Yeah.
But there's a trail associated with that, trail connection, and then we need to make some improvements along the trail along the east side of Heritage Ridge, including fencing that the railroad is requiring us to put in and some other minor improvements as part of that project. So there will be some trail work that'll get done, but most of that's just the actual road crossing and then the pedestrian crossing of the railroad tracks there as part of it.
The only reason I'm asking, so had this went to Port, because this is a special trail, this is not just a sidewalk.
This is part of the trail upgrades that are going to be happening in the future.
So this will be separate to the south or to the north?
It'll be separated to the north.
Cool. Awesome. And do you heard from the PUC anything on update of the overall crossing?
No, so we have been waiting to submit our final application because the state is going through a rulemaking process on the standard operation and maintenance provisions that the railroad can impose upon us when we build a new crossing like this. So Brandon Dittman, who works for Beltman, I don't know, maybe Alicia might know. I don't know. I can't even remember the name. There's it's like every law firm, there's a bunch of names. But Brandon Dittman, we hired on the suggestion from Attorney Smith. He specializes in railroad issues. It's really all he does. And he said, hey, let's wait until this rulemaking process is done because it actually may benefit us.
Really?
We have an operation and maintenance agreement draft from the railroad. They want us to sign it. There's provisions in there that we don't want to sign and that he doesn't believe we're obligated to sign. But he said, we may not have to fight with them because I think this rulemaking process might take care of some of those. So let's hold off. And once we get that O&M agreement signed, then we can submit that final application to PUC. And BNSF has indicated that they don't intend to oppose our application, that we've kind of worked out all the details. So we hope that will be a relatively smooth process.
That's great.
So we'll see.
You don't
It's
think
been a very
there's no
long
risk
time.
in delay in waiting for the rulemaking?
It's only gonna get more expensive the longer we wait, and so we talked just a couple weeks ago, if this process doesn't wrap up the next 30 to 60 days, we
Yeah.
need to just move on, because the longer we wait, the more expensive it's
And
gonna
just deal with.
and just deal with.
Yeah.
I think we can live with most of the provisions in the O&M agreement, and he felt pretty confident there were a couple in there that they want, but that they can't impose, and they probably won't fight us on them if we say we're not gonna agree to them.
Could
So
we force
I
an
think we can get
amendment?
a lot of them done anyway.
Yeah, could we force an amendment down the road after rulemaking and just say, hey, by the way, rulemaking, whatever, 2025, we've gotta clean this contract up?
It's a good question. My guess is unless that was like some kind of mandate, they wouldn't agree to it. If it was something that benefited them, they'd just say no.
Yeah, okay.
Although I don't know what they'd do at that point because the crossing would be there, so it's kind of an interesting question. You know.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll ask Brandon about that.
If I could ask, what kind of burdensome requirements were they asking in the contract?
None of them are really significant. It's really just maintenance, kind of maintenance related issues. There are some things in there, and I honestly can't remember any of them off the top of my head. When I read through it, I sent back an email and said, hey, I think this is fine. I think we can live with all this. And he said, hey, I appreciate that, but here's some reasons why you won't want to, and that we don't think you should, and that you don't need to agree to. And I think you made a compelling case, and admittedly that was months ago, and I'm not.
No problem.
I don't know that I could recite those to you very well
It's all good.
off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Last thing I forgot, it was in a different section of my notes. Newell Farm Park is part of the 2025 project list, but because it's a bigger project, some other things need to be kind of finished or move forward a little bit before it is proposed, but it is on the list for possibilities for 2025.
Excellent. Wow, that was a great update. Thank you. Trustee Hardy?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Trustee Kurtz?
Just to thank you really, I guess, to Sonoma County Sheriff and the fire department, whoever else responded. There was a grass fire or risk of a grass fire off 15C on the east side of Heritage Ridge not too long ago. It's just really dry out there, and that got put out. It pretty scary considering.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks for taking care of that situation. And just a reminder that it is dry out, and not to belabor a negative point, but this was the time of year that the Marshall Fire happened. So even though it's winter,
Sure.
yeah.
No fireworks for New Year's.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. No other reports.
Thank you. Trustee Wing?
Nothing to report.
Mayor Pro Tem?
You guys all have a calendar in front of you that the tree committee's worked on, and we have our chair Mitchell in the audience, and I'd like to thank our committee for putting this together. Hopefully we'll have an even better calendar next year.
I think it's so great.
Aside from that, let's see, I feel like I'm missing something. Just say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, you guys. I really appreciate everything you guys have done this year. I'm looking forward to 2025.
Excellent. Thank you. Trustee Wing already covered. That's right. Okay, thanks. For Behavioral Health Policy Council, we just did a general overview of the processes and procedures for the new board members from different municipalities, also for the new Citizens Advisory Committee members and the staff advisories, professional staff, so that would be medical staff, excuse me. We also learned more about the co-responder program. Nothing new from us. We already have that going on in Berthoud. And finally, an overview of like a year in review for the Longview, the new Longview building. Blanking out in the full name here, but the actual building for the sheriff's office to bring in folks that have mental health issues, or they can walk in themselves. And then the Community Impact Fund, which we haven't really applied for stuff in, just we don't have the facilities. But hopefully once we get the Life Center online, then we'll actually have a nonprofit in town that can apply for some of these mental health programs. So, NPO, really nothing to report on that. Tomorrow, actually the mayor of Cheyenne is coming to Berthoud tomorrow. They are really impressed with what we have going on at Prairie Star regarding the mission homes. And the mayor and the senior staff there are very concerned in Cheyenne about all the growth, but well, they're not concerned about the growth. They're concerned about the lack of affordable housing. So they're trying to tackle that, and heard what's going on in Berthoud and driving all the way down here. So that's pretty cool. And then also going to the Thompson Valley Emergency Medical Services annual dinner. So that'll be good. Never been to that one before, and kind of always forget about them because they're not really with the town. Finally, the parade and the tree lighting. Just really wanted to thank staff for being so flexible, and this includes day of. Turns out whoever submitted the application to staff didn't bother to put in block parking. So Brandon and street crew, hours before the thing actually started, ran through and put up parking just so no one could sneak through and park on Main Street. And just generally for all the lighting and the audiovisual support during the actual event. And wanted to thank staff for going above and beyond, I think, this year on the lighting, renting that lift, doing 3 trees there. One of the reasons, well, the reason why one of the trees is halfway lit, nothing to do with staff. It is the squirrels in Fickle hate the lights, and there's nothing we can really do about it. So we read about putting this happened to my house too. So about putting vinegar on it, but apparently they don't like that. But given the time of year and that renting another lift, they're just deciding to not really fix that this year, and then we'll look at improving it next year. Yep. The white tree is actually donated by Northern Colorado Landscaping. So they put that on Friday or Thursday and Friday, so that was really nice of them. Several $1,000 donation, but it turned out to a good community event, and sounds like next year we threw a lot of money at it, so it'll be great. Finally, I'd echo what Mayor Pro Tem Murphy said. It's been a fantastic year working with y'all, and I hope you have a great break here, and see you next year. Turn it over to staff.
The only thing I wanted to share with you tonight, we haven't already talked about, is actually related to the parade. We have the ability, as you know, to pull visitor data with cell phone pings, and between 4 and 7 p.m. in the area of the parade on Saturday night, there's about 2,400 people downtown.
Nice.
So,
I thought you were gonna say 24,000.
No, that would have been pretty amazing.
No,
Even 2,400 is
that's great.
Yeah. So, not everybody there was, I'm sure, there for the parade. They may have been at shops or eating at dinner at the restaurant or at their home. But
sure,
the significant majority there were there for the parade. So that's kind of cool data.
Right. They stayed for the parade.
And they hopefully
Yeah,
stayed.
it's like me running back to my house. Yeah, there's 2 less floats than last year, but yeah, thank you. That data, I'll pass it on.
I heard subjectively just from several people that they felt like the parade was better this year. So even though there may have been fewer floats, I think the quality of the floats was.
I wasn't able to attend, but Northern upgraded their float from a pickup truck to a big tractor trailer hay bale thing. So.
Oh, I was sweating my speech, so I wasn't even at the parade there. But that's awesome. Great. Yeah.
But thank you.
We got Santa on the roof, and then I was trying to herd him to his actual Santa opening, and he was apparently a former Larimer County sheriff. So he's like, no, I got to go talk to these guys, and it was getting real close to him not being able to get up on stage on time because he wanted to say hi to all his friends. So, but we got him, and he actually lives just east of town, so they donated their time as well. So
he summers in Berthoud, is what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Excuse me. Yes. He does not live here. He summers here. Staff? Oh, that was it
for me. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything from Sheriff's Office?
I'm not the one that holds us here tonight, so. I'm not sure if anybody had an opportunity to notice that the county has purchased a set of the Meridian defense barriers. They're vehicle intercept barriers that keep vehicles from driving into specific areas. We are able to utilize them this year at the Christmas parade to prevent vehicles from driving on the parade route from First Street on. So,
No, that's crazy.
the
That's
county
awesome.
spent $165,000 on the barriers, so we split half with us and half with Wellington for the parades because they were occurring at the same time, different towns. So we're able to do those, and we'll be looking forward to using those at more events here in the town.
I just saw the plastic town barricades. So how did these?
No, these ones are done by the roundabout.
They were down by the roundabout.
What are they look like big.
They're
like concrete.
about 4 feet tall. They're 700 pounds of AR 500 steel, so that are designed to stop vehicles from entering places.
Oh, well, I didn't thank you in the report for our sheriff's time. I'm sorry, I'm just writing it down now, but thank you guys for all being out there. It actually made me feel really safe, and I saw the drug dogs from State Patrol and City of Loveland. There must be some agreement, but they were out there too.
Yeah, so our explosive ordnance detection dog was working in the Wellington parade, so we asked for mutual aid assistance with.
Okay, great.
We brought up their EOD dog, and I think State Patrol may have came to assist.
You just had your camera system set up too at Fickle too.
Yeah, we had brought in a camera trailer to monitor the area. We also had a drone flying overhead during the parade just to make sure we had a good visual of the area and see what's going on. And I'd also like to thank the streets department and the park staff that came in and helped assist in blocking roadways. We're starting to block all the roadways that lead onto the parade route with vehicles to make sure that we don't have people running on the parade routes.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Turned out very well. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you.
Did have one more thing. Last night we had UC Health open their primary care clinic in Berthoud. So I attended that, and looks like an awesome
Heck
facility.
yes.
So
Nice.
that's all I've got.
First time we get stitches in Berthoud, so yeah. Awesome.
No,
I'm
you get
happy.
stitches at Dr. Art's office.
Oh, okay. Right, you're right. That's true. All right. Well, everyone, you have a great night, and we'll see you next year. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
All right.